story. Welcome to Ring the Damn Bell. My name is KG, and with me we have a professional wrestler who is on the indie scene. He is Blood Money Brian Richards. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. So let's get started. So, how long have you been wrestling for?
In January of 2026, it'll be 10 years, so about a decade.
Wow, and who trains you? And tell me a little bit about your training, what you went through. Was there times that you wanted to quit because you just thought it was too much? Guide me through that.
Yeah. So I first started learning the ropes and breaking into the business with a guy called Heath Hatton. But Bull Bronson is a guy that trained me, polished me up. That guy has taught me everything that I know. He's my brother, my best friend, and no one can ever tell me different. So for sure. But yeah, coming up, man, I came up a very old school way. I'm from a little small redneck town, so they were doing independent shows, and I lived in the next town over, and I would walk to the independent shows and just to learn anything, get handshake somebody, try to do anything. And then when I got my license and my car, I started traveling, hitting the road. Went to every show that I could possibly go to just to network, just to do something for something, just because, it's that love of the business. So very old school way, very old school.
Right. So, at what age did you get into professional wrestling, and what promotion were you watching? And who was the person that you most looked up to as a professional wrestler?
Man, my whole family's watched wrestling. My dad is a huge mark. Growing up, we didn't have cable and stuff, so we go to my grandma's and we videotape every time wrestling was on. My dad still to this day has 30 years of VHS wrestling tapes
Wow.
that he has recorded just because that's what we did as a kid. Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Nitro. We were sitting down eating dinner and watching it with our dad. So it's been a long time. But yeah, growing up, I was a huge RVD guy, but man, Triple H was all time favorite for me for sure, for sure. He's just a great guy.
Yeah. So your family's a wrestling fan. You're a wrestling fan. You look up to Triple H. At what age did you decide, man, this is the shit that I want to do? This is what I want to do for a living. And although your family are wrestling fans, did did they have a little bit of concern that you wanted to go into this instead of having something a job that is more um secure, that you can have success but easier at regular jobs versus professional wrestling?
Yeah, man, I always wanted to do it since I was a little kid, 3, 4 years old. I always told my parents I'm going to be a professional wrestler. That's what I wanted to do. But I think I didn't realize that I could actually do it till I was about 10, 11 years old. We would have some local indie guys come to our house and watch wrestling with my dad. And they would sit there and just tell road stories and just, watch wrestling with my dad because my dad was a mark, So hearing their road stories and I was just like, I can do it. If they can do it, why can't I? My family's always been very supportive. Always been very supportive. Always had my back. Me and my baby brother, we both were in the business. We both got into it together. Um, he was my road partner for a long time before I started traveling with Bull Bronson. But yeah, man, it was always been a thing that like my family's always supported it. They're always like, "That's the best career for you because of your personality." I'm just an off the wall kind of person, anyways.
Right. And so I want to go back to your training. So I have a friend of mine that actually went, gosh, in the mid 90s to when HBK actually had a wrestling school. A friend of mine, Jason, he actually went to the wrestling school and said about 85% of people who went there didn't make it because it was very, very physical. It was a lot of your push ups, a lot of your sit ups, a lot of your leg presses. Very, very physical. And I've been told by a few people that wrestling schools have changed. You mentioned that this was old school. Did you guys go through that brutality of basically having to do um, different cardio and different weightlifting until you're just about sick and then you get sent to the ring?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, before I even trained, man, I was setting up rings, setting up curtains, getting the boys water, picking boys up from locker room. So I earned my spot to even train. But once I was training, Heath was he was a fitness trainer. He's a body guy for sure. Blow up drills like crazy, man. You know, like 7 people bumping in a ring, running running the ropes till you're puking. Like it's very hard for me now to ever get blow up because of that. But like, so it's definitely one of those things that like you have to do. You have to because that's how they call it cutting your teeth, but that's how
Mhm.
you're cutting your teeth. Is the more times you do it, the better you're going to be at it. Period.
Right. Did it ever get so physical for you that you started doubting if this is something that you can do? And if so, what motivated you to say, F that, I'm going to keep on going?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, man, when I first started training, I thought I was going to be a lot better than what I was. I was like, here I'm go, Hall of Fame bound already. Took my first bump. I'm up there with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. Uh, but I found out real early, man, that that was not the case. I'm a small fish in a big pond, for sure. So that was very eye opening. But man, I've always been that guy that like no matter what, I'll find a way to do it. So I've just had to lean into my strengths and hide my weaknesses. Paul Heyman said it best. Like I use that ECW style to, what do I do good? What can I put out there to catch eyes? You know what I'm saying? What do I need to hide? Finding that stuff out really helped me understand what I'm capable of and how to get further in the business for sure.
So, and this is a question that I ask everybody because I find it so interesting. Well, I ask all the indie people when they went through wrestling school, and wrestling may be predetermined, but it's definitely not fake. You're taking major bumps, bumps that at first will bruise your body. You're definitely getting sore. How long was it before you went from taking those bumps or taking whatever you had to take physically in training? How long did it take you for you to go from holy shit, this hurts? I don't have those calluses yet to okay, this is fine now. It still hurts, maybe, but not like it used to hurt.
Man, yeah, that's a good question. Man, when I was training, I remember when we were hitting the ropes, man, I could barely walk half the time because you're hitting those steel cables, and for months my ribs were internally bruised. So like that's even worse, and it is even worse, man. Whenever you can't see what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I think after I got out and started hitting the road and I was doing it 3, 4 times a week, your body just gets used to it. Like you say, you get those calluses. So probably maybe a year and a half into it, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't nothing. So, but now
Right.
it's a whole different ball game. Like now that I'm almost a decade into it, and I've had some great teachers and mentors that help me understand that everyone does have a bump card. You know, and
Right.
uh, and I'm just getting to that point where you got to make them count. You
Mhm.
you just can't. let average Joe Blow,
Right.
hit you with something crazy for sure. So it's all
Yeah.
about protecting yourself and being safe.
So, and I was getting to you getting into the scene in a second here, but um, what was the thing that you struggled most with when you were, as far as move wise, when you were being trained, and what is the thing that man you just took to right away and you were really good at?
The thing that I struggled with the most, and I still do because I'm I'm just not very athletic at all. I am a sand dude. I got a lead ass. I am a sandbagging person. You know what I'm saying? So if anyone's ever wrestled me, they probably know that already. Uh, so yeah, I got a lead butt for sure. So that was definitely the hardest of learning. I think it was just more of the timing of
Mhm.
everything for sure. But the best thing that I brought, and I think that I still bring, is just charismatic. Like I'm a very good. I can talk crap with the best of them. That gift of gab is really the only reason I've been places that I've been. Um, and I think it's definitely a lost art. Everyone, you can teach a monkey how to do a backflip, but you can't teach a monkey to be a monkey. And I think that everyone just thinks that they're cut from the cloth to do it, and I think that hurts the business a lot too.
Yeah. So you you technically never finish training. I mean, from what I've been told, that's something that you're constantly always doing as you get better. Uh, but you go from your wrestling school to your very first match. Who was that match against? And was this a good match? Was this a terrible match? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. The very first match I ever had was against a guy, Roger Mathis. It was awful. It was awful. Um, I bought these white trunks off of High Spots, and I got them custom made. And they misspelled my last name. And they were like three times too small, so everything kept showing. Um, and but it was just awful. It wasn't a horrible first match, but it got the job done. But yeah, coming out of that, I was just like, okay, well, this is kind of I it almost made me want it that much more, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, because it was like, oh, well, I've done it. You know what I'm saying? Like a crowd see me do it. Um, for sure, yeah. So it was definitely a learning experience, for sure.
So, how long was it before you had a match, and after you had that match, you were like, "Holy shit, that was just a damn good match."
I think when I first kind of clicked it, um, I was doing this bodyguard gimmick with this company called Stride, and I was just there. I was a filler guy, so I was there to get the main guy over. I was just his bumping card, bump it for him so he didn't have to and make his bump count.
Mhm.
I started running this mask versus beard match with this guy named El Magnifico, and we did the Rock Bossman spot where he rolled me up in 30 seconds.
Mhm.
And then we went back into the match. I wasn't ready, and whatever. We worked some heat. Then we did the roll up at the end for the finish too. And I think there is when I started being like, oh man, I kind of it's clicking now. I'm getting it. I'm getting like um, things like that.
Did you lose your beard then?
Yeah, actually I did. As you can see, it's back now. But yeah, I grew it out. I had this whole big. I grew it out for months, for the for the build of the match, and we hit the. He used pinatas,
Mhm.
and we put the clippers in a pinata. So he hit me and grabbed the clippers out, and I remember those clippers hurt so damn bad, dude, so bad. And then he didn't oil them or anything, so I have this long nappy beard, and he is just ripping the hair out of my face. So there's really good pictures that they can find on Facebook and stuff, and I'll post some too in comments and stuff. Really good picture, bawling my
Yeah.
eyes out. It was just one of those things that like it was just over the top and done fantastic, and I really enjoyed that moment.
So I one, make sure you tag me on those pictures so we can get it on my page. I have to see it. But talk about the first thing that comes to my mind when you tell me about this match is talk about someone that has to truly love the sport for you to do this. And the reason why I say this is when you see things like that happen in your AWs, your WWE, well, I haven't seen it in AW yet, but your WWEs, I'm not sure if TNA ever's done that spot. Back in the day in your Mid South Wrestling, your Georgia Championship Wrestling, all those federations, um, the guys that lost their hair, uh, they got paid a lot of money to do so, right? Now, from what I'm guessing, and you don't have to tell me how much you make, obviously, but it's that you've been in the business 10 years. I'm assuming, based on my question of when did you feel like this was your first getting it? So I'm assuming this is a long time ago in the beginning of your career that this happened. And I can't imagine you got paid a whole lot of money to do so. So I have to imagine you did this just because of your love of professional wrestling. Am I right here or?
Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. Like when me and Magnifico get did that, I was still pretty early. I was about 6 7 months in the business when that happened. And I mean, I didn't get a payday at all, but I mean, it's never for me, and a lot of people can disagree. The number one thing in this sport is to make money. But I am a realization kind of guy, and my chances of signing with the E is probably slim to none. I mean, you never know. You never know what happens. Things could happen, but I just love this business, bro, and that's the main thing. All I've ever wanted to do was it. So as long as I get to go out and fucking perform and just have a great time, that means more to me than anything. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to be in this business, you have to understand that, like, you're going to miss everything. Like children's birthdays, parties, weddings, anniversaries, you got to risk it for the biscuit. Yeah, you got to make the shows. You got to show up. You got to do this. You got to travel. Even when you're sleeping in your van, in the middle of Arkansas. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just for the love, dude, and that's all I've ever wanted to do was love this business and give it back what it gave me, and that was just a hope and dream, small kid, a poor small white trash kid from a small town, and it gave me a way out. So if I can give that back to the business, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I often compare the indie scene in professional wrestling to college football before those guys started getting paid, obviously. Because oftentimes I tend to, when I go to wrestling show, when I go to an indie show, more times than not, I have a better time and I enjoy it more than going to your WWEs in the AEW. And the reason why is going back to college football before those guys started getting paid. I've always loved college football over the NFL because the guys in the playing college, they may want to get to that point of making money, but at the same time, because they're not making money, it's all about the sport. That's what they're passionate about. And that's what I find with indie wrestlers. Now, you said that you don't have a whole lot of faith that you're going to make, the two big promotions. Why do you say that? I've watched a couple of your matches. You're pretty damn good. I disagree with you. I think that you absolutely have the capability of going to an NXT. But why don't you believe that much of yourself for you to say that you don't see yourself going there?
Man, I really appreciate that. That's awesome. You thought that just from watching my matches, and man, that does mean a lot for sure. But I think it's just me being hard on myself and me kind of being realistic with myself. That way, if it doesn't happen, I'm not so heartbroken. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, like, if it happens, it happens. It's awesome. If not, I've learned that. Uh, there's other things to do in the business too, besides wrestling. I've been getting into a lot of like producing things, directing, video editing, things like that. absolutely have fallen in love with that portion of professional wrestling. And but yeah, I mean, if it happens, that's cool. If it doesn't happen, it's cool too. At the end of the day, I'm still gonna be alright.
Yeah. So, couple of questions. One, if and access to everybody, AEW, WWE, TNA, New Japan, they all came with you to you at the same time. I'll offer you a contract. Who would you choose and why? Okay.
Man, I'm gonna choose WWE. They're the longest reigning. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone that's ever been in this business, I shouldn't say everybody, but most people that's been in this business, they wanted to be a Hulk Hogan. They wanted to be a Ric Flair. They wanted to be a Roman Reigns, a CM Punk. They want to be the guy. Stone Cold, The Rock, John Cena. They want to be the guy and want to be at the top of the thing. Like the top of the card. So definitely WWE, just because it's got the history and you want to go be with the best, the best, and that's definitely where I'm choosing. If they all came to me, first off, I'm creaming my jeans. Secondly, I'm gonna be like, please, just here's my signature. Like I don't care if you pay me $25, $25, for a card, for a match, but I'm down with
Right.
it.
So, and real quick, um, a faithful fan of the podcast, Blaze, he has joined us. Thank you, Blaze, for tuning in, my man. If you weren't here from the beginning, I have an indie professional wrestler, Blood Money, Brian Richards. Go check out some of his matches on YouTube. He's pretty good. He is. So, what promotion are you with right now?
Right now, man, I'm with a lot of promotions. I'm kind of bouncing around. Uh, I do a lot of stuff with Golden Boy Greg Anthony down in Dyersburg. That's kind of my home base right now. He's been real good to me, teaching me. Greg Anthony is, in my opinion, in the words of Bull Bronson, the smartest man in wrestling. He really is. If even if you think that he might be wrong, he's usually 90% of the time right. you know. So I go down there, and then he's got some great kids to work that are safe. So it's an area to try new things, craft your stuff like that. I got some stuff coming up. I've been doing some stuff in Arkansas with Sleazy E. Um, I got some other stuff that might be lining out with We Love Wrestling. Hopefully that works out. But yeah, I've been with AWR. I've done some shows with them out of Indianapolis. I've done TPW Total. They were Total Psychopathic Wrestling, but now they're Total Professional Wrestling out of Knoxville. I've been done some stuff with that. But yeah, man, I've been all over the place. I work for a million trillion people, and just networking.
Yeah, so, have you held any belts? If so, were they single belts, tag team belts, and how many belts have you held throughout the 10 years?
I've never had a single belt. I've never been a singles champion. A bunch of tags with Stride Professional Wrestling and IWA Productions and some local guys. But I used to be the guy that'd be like, I need the belt, I need the belt. And then I realized that belts don't matter. They're just, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, like, yeah, it does have some prestige to it and does give you that title for sure. Um, but I learned. Through a friend of mine. His name's Brad Cash. He's an awesome dude. I always thought that I wanted a belt. He had stepped away from wrestling for a little bit, and he did this tournament called the Suicide King Crown Tournament, and he did me the favor, of putting me over, making me the new Suicide King, and gave me his gimmick. And I think that will equal, no matter what, that will be better than any belt I could ever win. Besides the
So let me interrupt you real quick. And I'm very curious when I hear this and the belt doesn't mean very much because I've heard this before, and oftentimes it's been the people who are on the indie scene that says this. When I've talked to guys who were once with WWE or WCW, TNA, and they held belts, I've been under the impression that those belts do mean something because when a company puts that much um faith in you to give you that title, that means that they believe that you can be the face of the company and that you could be the one to put ass in seats. My question is, do you think that it's just people from the indie that may feel that way because the belts aren't as important in the indie scene? Or are there indie wrestlers that you've met that really took pride in holding those belts and they didn't want to lose those belts? And when they did, it kind of hurt their feelings a little bit.
I think that with the indie scene, it's people say that belts don't matter because a lot of times people can buy their way into them. You know what I'm saying? People can buy their spots. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. It's politicking. If money walks and bullshit talks, brother.
Right.
So it's just one of those things that yeah, that people can just buy their way in. So I think it's just kind of a way that indie guys and other indie wrestlers just kind of be like, well, I don't need a belt to make me better. I'm good enough, But yeah, I mean, if you're working AEW, New Japan, WWE, if you're working any of those big ones, yeah, you want the belt. You know what I'm saying? Because then you are making the most money in the company,
Right.
you know?
Right. And I say everyone, excuse me, my co-host on Tuesdays, Bob Cook, he's wrestled everywhere, including WWE, WCW. He's actually about to be put in the Hall of Fame in Florida. Great guy. He was known for the best punches uh, in professional wrestling during that time. He agrees with something like you said. He was those belts don't mean shit, but he's the only one I've ever heard him say that. In that aspect in professional wrestling. So tell me about Blood Money. Where did that name come from? Why did you pick that name? And has this always been kind of your character, your pro wrestling, your gimmick name, um, during your 10 years? If not, what was your other gimmick names that you've used?
Yeah, well, Blood Bunny Brian Richards hasn't always been my gimmick name for sure. I've always used Brian Richards. It's always been that, but I used to be the man that God made beautiful, beautiful Brian Richards. I wore red long tights with Dalmatian furs, and I used to have a rose, and I used to do like the Rick Rude thing and give the rose away to the ladies, and and have this fur coat that I'd let them take off of me, all that bull crap. so, so that's what
It's
it
hard for
was.
me. Once again, after watching a couple of your matches, it's hard for me to imagine you wearing that because uh, you very much are, and you didn't necessarily portray this on the matches I've seen, but I think of you, your name, how you carry yourself. I kind of think of almost a monster, someone that is just so violent that they'll take your eyeballs out your head and make you eat them type of a guy, right? So it's hard for me to imagine you as wearing those that to the ring and stuff. That cracks me up. It really, really does. Because you're a fan of color, correct?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. The more blood, the better, for sure, for sure. But yeah, no, I just it was something that I kind of gave myself. I needed something to sink my teeth into. So I once again I looked at myself and was like, hey, what is positive about me? What can I do? Well, what can I change to try to stand out on my own? And I was doing that for a long time, and then when Bull Bronson and me go way back since I was a little kid, and I've always looked up to him and always admired him. He's always been my mentor, and whenever he kind of took me on the road, he was like, "We got to change that gimmick, kid. That gimmick ain't gonna get you nowhere." So I was Brian Richards for a while, and we were at the show, and it was a New Jack's tribute show, in Knoxville, and I bled my ass. I bled all over the place, all over the place, and we're driving in the car that night on the way home, and he was dead sleeping with a cigarette in his mouth, and no one's saying a word, just driving. And he wakes up, blood money. That's it. Your blood money, Brian Richards. And he gave it to me, and after that, it was off to the races. We just kind of had to find out who he was, and I had this gentleman that I was friends with, and he did some time in a penitentiary, and he always used to say, I'm the kind of guy that'll eat the flesh off your face while your heart's still beating." And I was like, "That's the gimmick," you know. So I just kind of ran with that, and I tried to be a shark smelling blood in the water. When it's time to pick it up that notch, I'll pick it up for sure.
Right. So I know you like to bleed. More the better. Uh, you are definitely a hardcore type of a wrestling guy. Am I correct when I say that?
Yeah, definitely hardcore. I've watched WWE and stuff like that, but I remember when ECW came back and seeing dude Tommy Dreamer was what turned me on to hardcore wrestling. Tommy Dreamer all the way, seeing him just bleed buckets, and then going back and finding some even older stuff with him and Raven, and stuff with Sandman, Sabu, and rest in peace Sabu.
That's right. Real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. And I was gonna do this at the beginning of the show. Uh, Definitely rest in peace, Sabu. This was a hard one. They're all hard ones because I love professional wrestling so much. I'm like you, but this one in particular is really hard because it was Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, all those guys at ACW that I know WWE and even WCW when they were open, they kind of got credit for changing the wrestling injury, the wrestling industry. Not enough is said about people like Sabu and Tommy Dreamer and all those guys because they actually made wrestling cool to watch when wrestling wasn't cool to watch. They're the ones that really lifted up professional wrestling before WWE or WCW, in my opinion, where you weren't picked on if you watched professional wrestling. So this was definitely hard hitting to hear Sabu die. Rest in peace, Sabu. I'm sure people like Brian Richards and other guys in the indie scene that love hardcore. I have to know that this was a hard death for you as well.
Oh yeah, man, it was definitely completely out of left field. A couple weeks ago, he's having his having the match with Joey Janela.
Yep.
I literally just seen him on a podcast with Big J Okerson and all them, and literally the next day, you get the news. I mean, yeah, Sabu has he put hardcore wrestling on the map, and not just hardcore, but deathmatch wrestling in Japan, stuff like that. You look at the stuff he did with Terry Funk, Cactus Jack. Even the stuff he did with Taz. Even that hard hitting brawling style with Taz. Is that's stuff that will stand the test of time in the wrestling business. We can only hope that that should be every wrestler's goal, is to have your stuff stand the test of time, to change the industry, because that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to just it's to pass it forward to the next generation.
Yeah. You mentioned Cactus Jack. And we'll move on after this. Uh, Cactus Jack really got noticed by, I think it was Bruce Pritchard, who talked Vince into letting Cactus Jack come over and them talk together, because of the matches he was having with Sabu, and because of the promos he was actually cutting against Sabu. So again, Sabu did so much more than what he gets credit for. Um, Going to death matches, uh, there's definitely a difference between hardcore and death matches. Um, do you prefer one over the other? And if so, why?
Yeah, man, I definitely prefer death matches over regular matches. Only for the simple fact of it's just the environment, man. It's hard to explain until you go to a deathmatch show and you've been in a deathmatch show. It's a different environment. It's a different feeling. The fans are definitely more. I don't want to say appreciative because I think that all fans appreciate wrestling.
Aggressive.
Yeah, they're more aggressive. They're more in tune to it, especially when you get some drunk ones. Yeah, I've got stories for days. But yeah, man, they're just it's a lot better for me personally. I think that I'm more creative in that aspect of like, let's hit this here because this is going to look good. Well, we can get a good camera angle there with this, and it just makes my brain tick more artistically, for sure.
Yeah. So I like death matches. I've been to a couple of them, and it kind of cracks me up when because I think death matches have more people who are anti and who will try to cause problems for the promoters to have those type of matches versus any other type of wrestling. And one of the things that they hear is, I can't believe people are bringing their kids to this because of the environment. I've been to them, and let me tell you, yeah, the fans do get crazy, but at the same time, they look out for one another as well. They make sure that someone isn't crossing over that line, especially if there are kids there. And a lot of people believe that the wrestlers who do these type of matches that they go in there and they're these psycho crazy people who are willing to die right there in the ring. And I don't think they realize that even though it's a death match, the person you are wrestling with most of the time, they're protecting you as well by making sure that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys make sure that you guys don't get parts of the body that's actually can kill you type of a thing. Like you hit somebody over the head with glass, but you're not breaking someone's throat with glass. You understand where I'm coming from? Or is it that crazy where it's like fuck it? If you get hurt, you get hurt. If you die, you die.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got a good point. Yeah, yeah, we all keep each other safe. Where a lot of the deathmatch guys, bro, we're all deathmatch guys are normal people. We all have families. We all care about somebody. We just like to beat each other up. That's really what it is. But yeah, no, there's definitely safe places to hit. We try to stay safe. If someone is to step outside of those bounds and try to go, what we say, go into business for ourselves, which you've
Mhm.
probably heard that a bunch. And then it would take it to the next level. But I think that I could speak for myself and for Bull Bronson and some other guys in the industry that like people are concerned about taking kids to deathmatch shows, which is totally understandable. I got kids of my own. My kids go to the shows because no one's gonna fuck with them. They're my kids. But yeah, speaking for us, if we ever see a little kid at a wrestling show, just know we got them. Like, no, we're all about the children and stuff, man. I mean, deathmatch can be family friendly violence if you let it. But then again, you also have guys in the industry and in the business that can't separate the two, and that's kind of where we've fallen into that category of like, oh well, this is crossing the line. This is over its bounds of stuff like that. But if it's done right and it's done correctly, it can be friendly violence for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that like a million percent. I really do. When you're having a death match, what spot that you guys do is one of those spots that you're like, damn it, I hate this spot because it just hurts like a motherfucker. And I wish we wasn't doing it, but it is what it is. This guy does it, so I'm going to do it. What's my, what move or what are they using? Tell me about
Oh man, there's there's a
that.
list. Man, poppers kind of suck. They're these little sticks that look like dynamite, and they're just poppers like you throw on the ground. But people will put them on thumbtack bats. People will put them
Oh.
on just regular bats, cookie sheets. There was a piece of subfloor, like a piece of plywood
Mhm.
that someone had just put a million of them on. And I mean, those things will, dude, you won't hear for days, for days. Those things kind of suck, but they do make a cool effect for sure. Syringes can kind of get tricky, especially if people's never done them before and they're
Mhm.
like, well, tonight I'm going to do syringes. Nah, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But besides that, man, I mean, I'm really every weed whackers, bro. I'd never.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
dude. Yeah, no. That's for my yard. Yeah. So.
A minute ago you talked about sort of going into business for themselves. And I'm not necessarily just talking about death matches, whatever kind of match. It doesn't matter. Have you had to do that? You got in the ring with someone who was trying to go into business for himself for whatever reason. If so, how did you handle that?
Yeah. Actually, I've had that. I did a ladder match one time at this show, and this guy called Dark Secret, and I'll put his name out there because he's a piece of crap. So I'm literally like on my side, and he kicks me, and as I turn around, he takes a chair, and I'm face up. Okay, so if you're
Oh,
face up, that's no go. Don't hit me. And he hits me with a chair and breaks my elbow, like literally cracks it right in two, breaks it, and yeah, I literally once I realized that he broke it, I with one hand. There's video. With one hand, I'm punching this dude as hard as I can in the face, taking chairs, smacking him. And credit to my boy Bull because when I walked back to the locker room and he's solid, I'll never forget it. He's smoking a cigarette, and he puts his cigarette out. He goes, "I'm gonna kill this mug." Yeah, you said a different word. And he's having this conversation. He walks through. He's like, excuse me, boys, I gotta knock this B out, and just punches this dude straight. I mean, straight out, dude. Like, yeah, right then and there is when we were. That's when I realized that, like, he's got my bag no matter what, for sure.
and you've talked about Bull a whole lot. You can tell that he's been someone in your life when it comes to professional wrestling that you've kind of leaned on or may admire. There has to be a time, and I want to know about it, that you pissed Bull off and he just went off on you. Tell me about that.
He's gonna love this story. I can't wait for the phone call after this. So, when I was driving around the shows, and I was driving around the shows, and just trying to get on anything, trying to learn anything, and these people asked if I had taken a body slam, if I could take a body slam. I'm like, green as Groot. Yeah, super green like grass. And like, yeah, no problem. Never took a body slam in my life. And they were like, well, who's trained you? And like, I've been trying to ride with Bull to some shows. And I was like, well, I ride with Bull. So at the time, I don't realize that that's basically me telling them, hey, Bull trained me. And he hadn't at this time. This time and so I go out there, and word gets back to him, and he messages me, and he is like, hey, bro, what the crap? Like, why are you saying all this? And like, I was working a shoot job at the time, and yeah, dude, I was like, man, here we go. I'm gonna have to fight him. And like, yeah, it was a big blowout. So like he didn't want to take me in and polish me up or
Wow.
teach me anything because of it. Like, it took me a long time for him to even open his door to teach me anything. So that's that. Yeah, so that's another reason why I'm like, man, I earned it. Like, there's a lot of times where we've wrestled each other um, before I was under his wing, and there's a lot of times where he just give me belly chops just because he was like, yeah, now who trained you? you know.
So, what is your dream match or your dream opponent? I'm not looking necessarily for someone that's made it big and nothing like that. I mean, that's fine if there is someone, but I don't even care if it's a person in the indie scene for whatever reason you just want to wrestle this guy. But yeah, who is that person, and tell me why? What makes that individual your dream opponent?
Oh man, dude, I've wrestled a bunch of names, so it's real hard. To be honest, I think one, and it's just because he was over with me, bro, and he's still gonna be over. Tatanka, dude. If I wrestled Tatanka all day, all day, my day would be made. But yeah, I mean, I've wrestled a bunch of, I've wrestled Honky Tonk Man and Animal from LOD. I've done
Wow.
some stuff with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat before. So I've wrestled names, for sure. But Tatanka, man, he hits that Hulk Hogan fireback come up with the tomahawk. Oh yeah, dude, I'll bump all day for him.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping to have him on my podcast one day. So I have to ask you about your match with Animal from LOD. Growing up, love those guys, man. I am more of a heel guy than a babyface guy. I love heels. And when the Road Warriors were heels, I mean, they were just brutal. So I want to know about that match.
Yeah. Oh, he was super cool. He was super super cool. It was a lot of just listen, kid, listen. When they say that they were legit guys, they were legit guys. I mean, even in his older years, like he was still strong as an ox. Like I said, I got a lead butt, and he carried every piece of weight of me for sure. But he protected me the whole time, because I was still super green. I was just in there bumping for him, just to be just to be a little gimmick match, just to for him to do something real quick and leave. But he took care of me. He was good to me. And yeah, yeah, Animal was the stuff for sure.
Yeah. So we talked about someone that went in business against you for himself. Now I want to know a time that maybe you didn't go in business for yourself, but maybe you messed up and actually gave him a good hit or something that he he owed a receipt back to you. Has that ever happened? And how did that person kind of take care of getting back, that whatever you did to him?
Yeah, well, to be honest, man, that's never really happened. Even if I do accidentally stiff somebody or something like that, I'm always like, hey man, sorry, like cut me off, give me a stiff one back. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I know it's
Right.
coming anyway. It's like if I do feel like I'm being too aggressive, like I tell them, hey, if you feel like I'm being too stiff, let me know. To tell me, hey brother, it's work. Like yeah, because if I'm doing something that you don't like and I don't know, especially once we're out there and we've never worked each other before, um, I don't know unless you tell me, and then that's how people get into shoot fights in the ring is because these guys have never worked each other before, so they're not used to being, hit this hard by this guy, hit that hard by that guy, So like it's definitely one of those things. But I usually let people punch me first, like that way I can get kind of how they're feeling. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I can get feel because whatever you give me, I'm gonna get back to you. I mean, if you hit me hard, I'm gonna hit you hard. You hit me light, I'll hit you light. It's so either style I could do.
So during the matches, are you the main one who is calling your match, or do you guys use the style? I know that normally it's the heel that calls the match. How do you do that within your matches?
Well, I used to call a bunch of stuff. I used to be a big call spot guy. But coming from the school of Bull Bronson once again, he was like, "Stop calling everything, just walk and talk." So I'm if I never worked a guy before, I'll be like, "Hey, what's your comeback?
Mm.
Hey, what's your shine? That way I know what's coming there." But besides that, I'm just like, "I'll see you out there." And once the moment the water hits the head, I'm at that flip, flip that switch, and it's time to go. So
So, how much longer do you have left that you're going to wrestle for? Or you don't have a plan, you're just going to wrestle until you absolutely can't wrestle anymore.
man, I plan on wrestling as long as God lets me. I've it's, it's the only thing besides being a dad that I know that I'm good at.
Mhm.
So as long as I can, and even when it's time to hang up the boots, man, I would like to at least. maybe get a little promotion around here going, and have my own little thing, and bring kids up how I was brought up. People that want to do it, that's never had an opportunity, like bring you in here, teach you the right way, make because respecting the business is the biggest part. And I feel a lot of times when people get trained nowadays, that's missed out a lot. So I would like to bring that back into wrestling as much as possible. But
Do you watch today's wrestling? And if so, do you have one particular promotion that you watch more than the other, or do you just watch everything? Or because you're in a bit, the majority of times I get the answer back that, man, once you're in the business, you really don't watch it anymore because you are in the business, and that's what you do for a living, type of a thing. So is that where you're at, or do you still watch?
Man, I'll check out some new stuff for sure. Like I'll watch Mania every year, the Rumble. Like the big pay-per-views I'll watch. Rather than that, I'll catch highlights, see who's out there. I'm very uh, I'm very big on old school wrestling. So if I do watch it, it's prime time wrestling. It's WCW Saturday night. It's Saturday night main events. It's very old school stuff like that, because I feel the new stuff is awesome, but for me and how I wrestle in my style, my capabilities, that old school Memphis style, just it works for me. So I usually just watch a lot of old stuff.
Awesome. Well, man, look, I appreciate you coming on to talk to me. You're a great guy. I could probably sit and talk to you for another hour. But before we go, do you have anything you want to plug? If it is Bull still training wrestlers, if so, if you want to give his school a plug, feel free. Plug whatever you need to plug, my man.
Yeah. Well, Bull's only a school of one. We we have one guy in the works, but that's probably be it. It was definitely a one trick pony with training. It was hard for me to do it. So, but yeah, if anyone is looking for a great school, Golden Boy Greg Anthony, he's in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Pro Wrestling Mid South is a fantastic school. He is a fantastic teacher, and he will get you done the right way. Um, just be on the lookout. I got a bunch of stuff. You can add me on Facebook, Brian Richards on Facebook, Brian underscore Richards 95 at Instagram, and I'm on X also, or Twitter. It is blood underscore money 95. Yeah, so we got a bunch of stuff coming up. Me, Bull, we're hitting the road. Heartland Heat, that's our tag name. So we're about to start doing some stuff, and we got a bunch of really cool stuff coming up and available. Oh, in YouTube, you can find anything that I do is on YouTube. It's just Blood Money. You look Blood Money or Brian Richards wrestler, all my stuff will pop up. So
Cool, man. Again, thank you so much, guys. I will be back with the wrestling enthusiast Mark, the best referee in the industry, George Strong, and of course, Hall of Famer, the cooker, Bob Cook, tomorrow to do the review of Raw. But look, man, when Bob Cook's on, there's no telling what we're going to end up talking about because he's just a crazy son of a bitch. So, but it's my favorite podcast to do is with him on it. So check us out tomorrow night. Also, man, I got so many great guests coming. I have a gentleman who I will be promoting. He actually wrote, he's a doctor who wrote a book about professional wrestling and how it actually helps people who are into it. Very great guy. I'm going to be talking more about him soon, but I have a lot of interviews with a lot of people coming on. So please give me a subscribe. Again, Blood Money, Brian Richards, man. Thank you so much, guys. Go check out his matches. You will enjoy them. Until then, ring the damn bell, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Again, thank you, Brian.